Welcome, everybody, to This Week in Cannabis Live, a joint initiative of High Spirits, Cannabis Musings, and us here at Cultivated. I am Jay Rosenthal. That is Jeremy Berke, AnnaRae Grabstein, and Marc Hauser. Welcome, everybody.
Hello.
Good morning.
Well, good to be here.
We are, summer is upon us, and things are spicy. That's how I'm describing things in the cannabis industry, or I'm trying to make this show interesting, but there actually is interesting stuff happening. AnnaRae, I want to go to you because you've had the most recent conversation with the folks at Glass House. They are listing, I don't know what day the 30th is, but is it Tuesday on the New York Stock Exchange, a fast follow of Trulieve. What do we know and what are people saying? Because this is California based.
Yeah, I talked to Graham on Tuesday. Folks can listen to the full hour-long interview. He's the president and chief cannabis officer at Glass House. And they did something called deconsolidation of their medical and adult use business. And the way that he described it is that they separated everything that comes up supply chain before retail. And so retail is no longer a part of this new NYSE listed business, and that because they converted their cultivation license in California to a medical license, and California doesn't delineate if a product is medical or adult use till the point of retail, that the interpretation is that all of their cultivation, biomass, and distribution business is medical. And when I spoke to him on Tuesday, they had only put in for the listing, but since then it was approved. So I guess the New York Stock Exchange is buying this interpretation of medical. So good on them, I guess.
Well, you say buying, Mark, is that they're not, their lawyers are buying it, not like,
well, yeah,
it seems like, well, let me ask you, it seems like Trulieve did a little bit more than Glass House in this respect. Am I reading that wrong?
Well, it's, I mean, first up, yeah, I think it's more that the law firm that issued the legal opinion to the exchange blessing this, you know, it's probably their opinion committee actually bought off on the structure is fundamentally probably what happened. But yeah, I mean, you know, they filed, Glass House filed all of the deconsolidation documents. And, you know, it was a little vague as to what actually was being sold off. You know, Trulieve made it slightly more clear in their documents about what they sold off. But, you know, it is different because basically Trulieve just separated out all the mixed use assets just totally, at least from what I understood. You know, it's an interesting interpretation that, AnnaRae, if I'm understanding it correctly, that what they're doing is they're taking the point that that they could sell it as medical to a retailer, and that's okay. But if the retail, but I guess what I'm interested in is, can they sell to a non-registered retailer? I guess that's something I don't know. I hadn't really thought about that, but it's an interesting. They signed off on it, so
it comes back to the registration with the DEA again. Like, what is a registered medical dispensary?
Yeah, well, I guess probably what they did is the Glass House retailers all filed for registration as well, and so therefore they're selling to a registered. It's registered to register. That's all that's allowed. It's creative. You know, more power to them.
It's creative, and I saw it as a progressive interpretation by the New York Stock Exchange to accept this medical until the point of retail. And if that becomes broadly accepted, I think it's a big opportunity for many other businesses that are up supply chain to broadly interpret their business as medical until the point of retail. Not all of the state markets have this adult use medical license structure that California does that allows for the product to stay as both until retail. Some states you have to designate something as a medical product at the time of delivery to the dispensary. But this certainly is a unique pathway and one that others might choose to follow. But you're right, Mark, when it comes to comparing this to Trulieve, I think that Trulieve has a much deeper medical business and has for a long time because of how much of their revenue is derived from their Florida business, which is 100% medical.
Yeah.
Um, but good
More
for them.
power to them and creative. I guess the other question is, does this?
Viral.
I mean, the other question is, does it work? I guess that's a weird question, but like, as Mark, you talked about before, it doesn't actually raise net new capital necessarily. It may provide more liquidity for the people that actually own shares. But Jeremy, you've looked at the sort of, I mean, there wasn't a 300-fold run up for Trulieve once they listed on the New York Stock Exchange. I don't know if that'll happen for Glass House. Like, does that put a limiter on who's willing to do this, or is this like everybody's sort of testing the waters to see what happens, Jar?
I think, Jay, what you said is both are right. I think they're both testing their waters, and there is a limit on who is willing to do this for a number of reasons. One, I think the real tell is how these stocks will be received once they do trade on the New York Stock Exchange. And, Trulieve is down, right? I mean, that has probably more to do with the macro conditions that we discussed around cannabis than Trulieve itself. But I think it started trading around $12. It's below $9 right now. So clearly there wasn't that sort of inflow of capital, that people might have thought or expected to see. Some of that is insider selling too. I know, Kim Rivers did sell some shares, and that affects the stock price as well. But we'll see with Glass House. I think it's very clever the way they've been able to list, as AnnaRae said. It's something they should definitely do. Getting access to New York Stock Exchange does give them, broad access to retail investors, to institutions potentially. So they absolutely should try it. But the real tell is going to be 5 days after trading. Where is the stock price sitting? What is the news we're getting out of the rescheduling hearings, which will be ongoing when Glass House starts trading? So look, interesting. I think, if I was in their seat, I absolutely would test the waters. I think it's a smart idea. That being said, it's a test of the waters. And, when you test the waters, you don't know how things are going to go. So that's part of it.
Right.
I have a question for Mark about the difference between the New York Stock Exchange and the NASDAQ and why you think folks are choosing one or the other.
Well, traditionally, the New York Stock Exchange is more prestigious. That distinction probably means a lot less these days than it did 25 years ago. But I think that there is still something to that. The listing standards are a little higher. You tend to, you don't get really small cap stocks or penny stocks on the NASDAQ, on the New York Stock Exchange. So I think it is, to me, it's more of a imprimatur seriousness. And that would probably be, could be more attractive to capital. So I think that's the difference.
Interesting.
One last thing I'll just toss in, and I haven't dug into this because I'm not a finance person, but I was thinking about this, is that, Glass House and Trulieve both filed, when they did this deconsolidations, these pro forma financial statements, which showed sort of like the effects of the deconsolidated assets being removed from the financials. And, one thing to keep an eye on and think about is, one of the risks is that you're sort of transferring off these revenue generating assets, and if I read the financials on the Glass House ones in particular, these are assets that are actually generating positive net income. And so, but the debt's still the same, so you're sort of dropping the asset base, but you still have debt to pay. And, I guess in theory, your tax situation is improved. So I don't know, I'm sure they're thinking about that, but it's something to just keep an eye on. That, what are the financial implications in the shorter term of getting rid of the, revenue generating assets?
Well, even as much as they're deconsolidating to get listed, but but other companies may be doing a similar thing, not to get listed, but to understand their tax burden and lessen it, right?
Yes. Yes.
Which is interesting. Speaking of that, there is a hearing that starts on Monday. We'll talk about the hearing at the DEA, but Jeremy, we are, party to someone. We want to get it streamed so we know what's happening. Give us a bit of that. I used a little term here. See, can we hear the hearing?
We do. So Marijuana Moment had initially tried to ask the ALJ judge to get the hearing live streamed. That request was denied. And so we are doing the follow-up with lawyer David Holland. We're asking the DEA administrator, Terrence Cole, to direct the ALJ judge to open up the hearing to live streaming. And we believe the reason is twofold. One, the folks provided to provide testimony in the hearing are all on one side of the issue. Now, they are the aggrieved parties. That's the way this hearing is set up. But it is groups like Smart Approaches to Marijuana and some, medical researchers and doctors who are very much opposed to cannabis reform. So, we do believe the broader public and the media has an interest in hearing what they have to say. This is one of the most consequential hearings on federal drug policy reform in a number of decades since the 1970s. And so, we do believe that the public has interest. And two, I think, on a more, funny level, I think going to Arlington around the 4th of July weekend is not what anyone has in mind. And it is hard to get into these hearings. And so we do believe that because there is no live stream that constrains the audience, we will not be able to be there. Many other journalists will not be able to be there to wake up at dawn and pay for accommodations and get into the room. And so we believe the live stream makes sense. It should be live streamed. So, we'll see what happens. The letter was sent this morning. We expect to get a response, hopefully by the end of the day.
Wouldn't it be ironic that the letter sending and the effort to get it live stream actually delays the hearing? Just kidding. I hope that doesn't happen. But the irony would be rich. The irony would real. Anything, Marc and AnnaRae, that you're looking for from the hearings, whether they stream or not, which will be interesting to hear, or is this, ALJ hearing like all of them that are kind of dry?
No, this is incredibly consequential, and it's an important segue, actually, as we were talking about these uplisting events, because all of this deconsolidation would potentially be inconsequential and unimportant if these hearings brought adult use into Schedule 3, which would then make it so that a company like Glass House did not need to deconsolidate their business because adult use would be Schedule 3. So if adult use gets brought into this new Schedule 3 landscape, it's a massive, massive shift from this scurrying that folks are doing right now to understand the difference between their medical and their adult use businesses. So I think it's a huge deal. And I really am glad to hear that you guys are advocating for the live stream. I stumbled upon realizing that there was no live stream, but also that there's no recording allowed, even for folks that do attend in person, and no pictures. And so what's allowed right now is only for people to take old-fashioned notes and courtroom drawings. I mean, it's like we're back in the olden days. And I did a call out to find out who was actually going, because I want to be able to bring someone on and talk to them and learn myself about what's happening. And I've gotten basically nothing. Turns out it sounds like Laura Fogelman, the chief of staff at PAX, is going to be in Arlington and can attend the first day. So shout out to her. She might be able to give us some insight of what happens for opening statements. But past that, I mean, this is a multi-day. I think it's going to be 14 days altogether. So it's pretty unreasonable to be closing these hearings in this way.
Yes. And I want to go back to the other point. If these hearings go swimmingly and at some point the DEA reschedules, I guess this is why you'd want to be on the New York Stock Exchange on that day, right? Because there will be a renewed interest in what is going to happen to the valuations of Trulieve and of Glass House and whoever else is there. Like, I think that would be a good day to be already listed in the New York Stock Exchange, have that all set up. I think that's the sort of thought and foundation you want to build, whether it's a month, 2, or 10 from now. That's sort of why you'd want to be there. But also, there's going to be a renewed interest on those particular days when that announcement's made. Marc, anything you're looking at? Have you ever been party to or interested in or following an ALJ hearing?
No, I hate litigation. That's why I was a transactional lawyer. I'm a lover, not a fighter.
But everybody says
that I've watched some administrative hearings before, but I've not seen a DEA one. I mean, they're pretty rare. But no, what I'm interested in is seeing what kind of defense the DEA puts up. You know, they announced their witnesses this morning, and I think it was a doctor and a researcher to basically talk about about safety, which on the one hand is I don't know enough about those witnesses to know how forceful they'll be. And the testimony period or time slots are very tight. The big question is what kind of, how deeply are they going to be cross-examining these witnesses, to challenge, or the witnesses of the defendant, or I guess the challengers here, to see, because this is all about making a record. Because again, the judge isn't going to, there isn't like a final decision. It's basically a recommendation. It's a finding of fact, a recommendation. So how much of a record is the DEA, are they really going to be putting out there to boost the support for this? And also, make a record that will survive, allow, any sort of positive decision to survive the inevitable court challenge that will be filed, immediately after that's, it's issued.
Yep.
So, because that's really the key.
Yeah. Go ahead.
The undertone, I think, of what Mark and what Jeremy, I hear you saying as it relates to the DEA bringing in these aggrieved parties as the witnesses or to testify, and then their own witnesses, is does the industry really believe that the DEA is going to stick up for cannabis? Because that's the position that they're in, and that's their role in this, is to defend it and to defend Schedule 3. And I think that we all are bringing some skepticism to that of, is that really going to happen? Because historically, that has not been the role of the DEA in the drug war and in drug policy broadly. So it's another reason why I think we're also interested to be able to follow along, is to see if this is a real hearing or if this is some performative prohibitionist theater.
Wow, that's a good turn of phrase.
Yeah.
Wow, I'm gonna clip that. That's what you yell if you can clip it, and the technology does it for you. I want to move ahead because we have a bunch more to get through. But one note, and I'm not saying this is foreshadowing what might happen in the U.S., but the Canadian Cannabis Lobby Group, the CCC, which I think is the Cannabis Council of Canada. I never get the right C in the right order, but they've been around a very long time. Shut its doors this week, citing a number of factors, but one being the strong illicit market, which is not nearly as strong as it is in the U.S. in most places. But they're shutting down. So the industry lobby group is shutting its doors in Canada, and we're like, I don't know, a long time into legalization and adult use and sort of normalized banking, if you will. So the road is not always easy past legalization or adult use in that respect either. Just so farewell to all the good folks that have put in time with the CCC, many of which sort of follow along here and have found other jobs as well. So just a note on that. Jeremy, you saw this. You're Canadian. This actually didn't surprise me because they haven't been the most effective group usually anyway.
Yeah, I didn't say that. I don't want to.
I said that. Sorry.
You said that, Jay. I don't want to misstep in any way here, but I think it's two things. One, I felt like blaming the illicit market is a little bit coy because Canada has made a lot of inroads into stamping out the illicit market. 8 years into legalization, this is probably what the proportion is going to look like. Maybe there'll be a few more percentage points taken from the illicit market, but I think this is kind of the status quo. Two, I think it's also just a function of, how unfortunately or fortunately normal cannabis is in Canada. The government has other priorities. Canadian cannabis companies aren't sort of so engaged on policy every single day. There's certain movements of advocacy around, taxes and stamps and things like that come up every so often. But, they're just sort of companies functioning like companies. And so, do they want to pay all these dues to a lobbying group to get, regulations formed in their way? I'm not sure that's the best use of their capital and time. So I think it's part of that as well.
They don't think so either. I think we've even seen this on the more local level in markets like California and other places. Like the industry groups so far seem like in other sectors, the industry needs to mature more before these things actually take hold in a real way, because it's pretty fractured right now. Like not every company sees the industry the same way, even in Canada.
Trade associations are a rough business. They really are.
Yeah.
And it's hard in cannabis because what happens that I have seen is that in the associations that try to serve everyone, there's actually really different desires in terms of different supply chain positions. Like the retailers want something different than the brands, who want something different than the distributors. And so then people break off and create a distributors trade association or a retailers trade association. And then you just have a smaller pool of people to be paying you dues. And it ends up just being a business like any other. And if you can't get enough members, can't get enough dollars, then you're going to go away. I question if it's the illicit market. It's more, it seems like what Jeremy says is a normalization of business function and people needing to do less activism in order to just keep their businesses open and maybe choosing to invest in other things instead of lobbying.
I think that's right. I want to move ahead to the favorites section of this show. I gave you all 6 seconds to come up with winners and losers of the week. Who wants to go first?
Ooh, I'll go first.
Mark, you go first.
Cannabis Musings is the winner because we get to write about safe banking being filed again. This is what, the 10th time. The 10th time.
It's the 10th,
filed.
yes.
It's amazing. I mean, it's like the gift that keeps on giving.
I swear I hosted a webinar in a previous role in my life, and it was probably 5 years ago, in a lame duck section of Congress, that there was real momentum for safe banking to pass in the lame duck session.
Yeah. I mean, look, again, it would be great to have it. But it's, it's like whereas, when this was first filed, it was one of the big problems for licensed cannabis. Now it's like problem number 23.
Right.
It's still real. I'm not trying to, but it's a lot less of an issue than it used to be.
Yeah. So Congress's timing is quite good, is what you're saying.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. 10 years late, day late and a dollar short. I guess that's a winner. Any losers, Mark?
I'll bring another winner to the table. Sure. And this is on the back of what we've been talking about. We just said that the lobbyists are losing in Canada, but my winner this week is the Washington lobbyists, because I have never seen so much cannabis action in Washington than we are seeing right now, between all of the different hemp bills that are being introduced and discussed on the daily, the safe banking stuff, the Schedule 3 work. There is so much action in DC. These lobbyists are getting more money from cannabis than they ever have. And then the lawyers right behind them are also winning. So the winners for me this week are the lobbyists and the lawyers focused on federal policy.
There's
and
no
when
winners
the lawyers win,
there's only
everyone. Everyone wins.
AnnaRae, as you said, there's no winners or losers. There's only
legal fees.
Yeah. Jeremy, winners, losers.
There's no justice, only legal.
My winner was actually it was going to be similar to AnnaRae's, but I think Adam Rosenberg at the NCIA has done a really good job coming out of lobbying day, especially. Look, like, we can all kind of turn up our nose at the Safe Banking Act that has been introduced 10 times, it has passed the House 9 times, but getting lawmakers, like Senator Elizabeth Warren, to back the effort is still a huge coup right now, because it kind of is a losing effort. And so the fact that there is any sort of momentum coming out of DC on it, I think, is important. My second winner is simple. It's Glass House. I think they figured out a novel strategy. They're doing what they should be doing. I'm excited to see it trade starting on June 30th. So we'll see what happens.
I like it. I have a couple here because I taken the liberty of grabbing graphics before we come on. My first winner, I'm going to go winner and loser quick. My first winner is FIFA. Well, sorry, the World Cup, not FIFA in particular, but the World Cup. Jeremy, you were at a game. Everybody's watching. We have games here in Toronto. There are games in San Francisco, games in New York. It's amazing. And I pulled the numbers. Of the 16 host cities, 8 of them have legal weed. And as Jeremy mentioned, his previous sort of sports-related cannabis opportunity, I want to see the sales data from these 8 cities: Toronto, Vancouver, Boston, Kansas City, LA, New York, New Jersey, San Francisco, and Seattle around the games, because it is a long time to have a lot of different people in your city, and a lot of them like to smoke weed. This we know, and so we'll see the data coming out of that. So kudos to the World Cup and those cities for having legal weed. A loser on the same front is that this bong was at a local dispensary here in Toronto, Cosmic Charlie's. It is a FIFA World Cup bong, which not only did they have to take it off the shelves, they got a really serious cease and desist letter from FIFA that made them, the last recommendation was that they destroy them all and send a picture of the bongs destroyed. It was all over the news. So this bong, unfortunately, this one is in Brazil colors. You won't be able to find other than this picture and maybe one or two at Cosmic Charlie's in the back room. But that is the winner is World Cup. The loser is FIFA for cracking down literally on that bong.
Wow, that bong's like the Honus Wagner baseball card.
Yeah, it's pretty cool, right? I have another loser. This one is so obscure that nobody cares, but the DEA is a hearing next week. We wrote about the DEA in our newsletter. I wanted to find an image for the DEA, and I went on their website to see what kind of imagery they have. This is the image they have on their website of the DEA. Like, in what world are you laughing and smiling on duty, right? That's a DEA intelligence officer, presumably. Like, that picture is so fake.
It's like a stock photo of like people at an office, you know, donut hour.
Yeah, it's like
It's
what? Like in a bulletproof vest, laughing and giggling, presumably like a drug bust. I don't know, but this photo hit me wrong. So of course I posted our newsletter and want to talk about as a loser here today. Isn't that shocking?
So what you're saying is that we'll make America great again by funding the DEA's branding efforts.
Well, it won't make it worse.
Yeah.
As soon as we get done with the reflecting pool, we'll work on the DEA's clip art.
There you go.
I guess maybe these are the people that'll be at the hearing, the ALJ hearing. That's why they don't want cameras and streaming in there.
That's how fun it'll be.
Yeah,
they'll be just laughing like that. Yeah,
those people are actually planning the ALJ hearing.
Yeah. Cannabis is safe. Yeah, that'll be the testimony of the doctor. Yeah,
I've got another loser, I think,
Good.
for us, or a loser, which I think is hemp brands and the whiplash that everybody in hemp is feeling right now. I think that there has been some optimism actually this week with some new language introduced that might end up in a defense bill or in a continuing resolution that could save the industry. Again, another Hail Mary. But overall, these poor businesses, whether you support hemp or not, you have to feel for them in terms of just the daily whiplash of they're going to exist, they're not going to exist, they're going to exist, they're not going to exist. It's hard for anyone to plan or to just move forward in their lives because at this point they keep thinking that, oh my gosh, I was going to shut down in November and now there's a new Hail Mary and I might be able to continue on. So I hope that one day we can be pointing to these folks and calling them winners. But for now, I'm really feeling it for them in the midst of all this whiplash. And you guys covered this week. Yeah.
And I just
about some farmers kind of spread all over the place in different states around the country that are all in really, really terrible, awkward positions with their businesses struggling.
Yes.
And this is the second time that's happened with the hemp cultivators. I mean, the first time when, in like 2018 and 2020, when they all overplanted expecting the FDA to do something about CBD, which they didn't.
Right.
Yeah.
Yes. Thank you, AnnaRae. That was important. And you can find cultivate.news. There's a story about it. Chris Kosaki wrote about a number of farmers who said prepping for November or what their plans are for November. Well, I appreciate all of you for making time today. I want to give one quick announcement. On Monday, we have an interview with Ryan Crandall from Maramed, from our perch above the Canadian Securities Exchange, above the CN Tower and all that. It's a great conversation about company and brand, a number of states, quite interesting, with some really leading brands, certainly on the East Coast. So tune in for that. That's Monday at 10 a.m. Eastern on our LinkedIn and YouTube channels. Anybody else have announcements? Oh, I have one more. I don't think we're going to be here next Friday. It's July 3rd. I think everybody's going to be off. Yeah. We have a holiday Wednesday. You guys have a holiday on the 4th, which is Saturday, but 3rd. I think everybody's celebrating on Friday. It's also my anniversary on the 4th. So there's that.
Oh, mine on the 3rd.
Congrats.
Oh, really?
Congrats. Congrats.
How many years?
Oh gosh. 2010. So 16.
Okay.
Yeah.
It was Jeremy's anniversary this week.
On the 22nd. Yes,
Nice.
it was.
How many years for you, Jay?
2 years.
If If you add yours and Jeremy's together, it's still not enough. We've been married. I don't know. We got married in 2004. I can't even do the math. That's how long it's been. 22 years. Does that sound right?
22 years. Yeah.
That sounds right. Yeah.
Yeah. But the irony is we got married on Independence Day. There's irony in that, I think. Independence Day.
And what's this July 3rd holiday in Canada? Is it also Independence
No,
Day?
it's just
Canada Day.
Our Canada Day is July 1st.
July 1st. Yeah.
I think you guys have Friday off. Like, isn't Friday the holiday this year?
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
wow.
I work for myself. I work all days and no days. No
So
holidays.
AnnaRae, you and I will be on a show Friday at noon, but nobody else will be watching.
Whatever you
No,
guys
we'll be
want.
back after the July 4th holiday. Marc, AnnaRae, Jeremy, enjoy the long weekend next week. Enjoy the first full week of July coming up. Thanks everybody for joining us, and we'll be back. I think it's July 10th.
Excellent.
Yeah, great.
Looking forward.
All right, everybody, appreciate it. Thanks everybody. Have a good weekend.
Thank you.
Later.